Alright everyone, we start off today with NIMBYism. Yes, that old topic that I go back to time and time again because it really pisses me off, because when you know what it's like to be down and out, if you had to go and get help from someone and somebody else complains about it because, you haven't washed your clothes in a couple of days, that's not very charitable. It's also not very Christ-like, by the way. St. Timothy's, it's an Episcopal church actually, in Brookings, Oregon, they were feeding the poor. And originally they were offering a couple of meals a week to people. And, just to give them a little bit of a boost. It's like, hey, maybe you won't starve to death. You don't have to panhandle today. Here's some soup and bread and shit. And the city complained about this. Well, the people in the city. I'm assuming it was the local yokels. They're like, oh my god, every day like 30 homeless people show up and they're getting this food and it's really going to lower our property values and stuff. Now, St. Timothy's is in an area that I would say is like generally middle class. I looked at it myself. I did a little bit of research. They have like a community garden. It's right next to a disc golf course. So this is not the ghetto or something like that. This is a marginally middle class area. Exactly the kind of place where if you set up an addiction rehab facility or a soup kitchen, people begin to complain about the poor people that I have to smell and shit like that. Oh my god, I saw one of them using fentanyl. I have no mercy for them. I'm a Christian, but, that goes a little bit too far. Don't lower my property values. The St. Timothy's originally was offering a couple of meals per week. They upped that to 6 a week because people needed more help. Under the Bidenomic economy, it's not really necessarily confusing as to why that is. And the people began to complain. So the city passed an ordinance that they weren't allowed to do that. They weren't allowed to feed them 6 days a week. They could feed them a couple days a week. That's okay to give them some franks and beans once in a while, but you're going a little bit too far with this Christ business. I fucking hate that when Christians actually act Christ-like, it is then and only then that they actually get bombarded by the NIMBYists and by government. If some church wants to make a major expansion and have like a limo dock or something like that for its rich parishioners, nobody bats an eye. If they want to golden gild the dome on their church, wasting money that could be used to do this sort of thing, nobody has a problem with that. Oh, what a beautiful church. Oh, they replaced that old front with marble columns. Oh, that's rather nice now, isn't it? That'll raise our property values. Yeah, we got a nice church in the neighborhood now. Suck it, poor people. But then, if they do charity work and stuff, like you've had churches and they'll set up to try to feed people who are destitute or who are homeless or something like that, or they'll offer counseling services. They're also offering showers for these people. They've got a place, and then the city's going after that too. They're complaining about that as well. No surprise here. As soon as they start feeding people a little bit too much, providing too many amenities, so the homeless, maybe they tend to congregate a little bit closer because that's their lifeline. All of a sudden, everyone in the community's up in arms. Well, statistically speaking, like at least 70% of these people are Christians that are complaining. You're not being very I guess you're not part of the Episcopal denomination. And the Episcopals and the Unitarians do a lot of charity work. Yes, I realize Unitarianism is only marginally kind of sort of Christian, and the Episcopals are sort of like Catholic light, if I remember correctly. But they do a good work for people that are in need. And of course, I'm a non-Christian. I'm against organized religion. I would never join an Episcopal congregation, but they're actually walking the walk. They're gathering proceeds to help people who are in need. All of a sudden, people fucking hate them. They have a big problem with them. Again, if they expanded this church and they put up marble columns and they upgraded their facilities and they had a swimming pool or something like that, nobody would care. Everyone would be totally hunky-dory with that. Everyone wants to feed the poor, but they don't want the soup kitchen in their neighborhood. Everyone wants to help the homeless, but they don't want the homeless shelter within 3 blocks of them. Everyone wants less addiction. They say, oh, well, I do feel sorry for that fentanyl addict, but I don't want him in my neighborhood, so don't put the addiction facility anywhere near me. What are you smoking? A school for troubled children or something like that. Well, I don't want those helmet wearers around my children. I think that they should put it on the other side of town. And again, if it was just outside of town, people of Brookings wouldn't have any problem with that. I looked at the demographics of Brookings too. This is like a 90% white city. It's right on the coast. It is generally middle class. It's nothing necessary. It's not the fanciest, ritziest place that you could reside in, but it's not all run down and fucked up. You look into the demographics, it's a pretty normal, median, small American city, or really more of a, well, I guess it's bigger than Rutland, so it qualifies as an actual small city. We're really more of a large town here in Rutland. And people complain about that too. In some cases the complaints are actually warranted, but people on the south end or in the gut certainly, there are complaints with regards to the homeless population. Well, I can go elsewhere. They had this in Amsterdam, by the way. The red light district is a blight on our city. Let's build an entire prostitute-emporium in Zoud, and the people there, because that's upper middle class zoning. Generally, if you've ever been there, they complained and boycotted and said, not in my backyard. I hate NIMBYism. Middle class suburban NIMBYism is probably the worst, because it's like, okay, you're not exactly rich yourself. You're complaining about people who socioeconomically are much, much closer to you than the ritzy people that you would rather be around, apparently. I just don't understand the logic. Jesus literally commanded you to do this. They're literally following their religion. So a federal judge stepped in and said to the town, or city or whatever, no, you're not allowed to do this. It violates the freedom of religion there. And they immediately pivot to complaining about the homeless people's, like the showers that they've set up for them and stuff like that. Oh my God, you're housing the poor? You're feeding the widows and orphans? Well, that's not very Jesus-like now, is it? I can respect these people. At least they're doing their fucking job according to their religion. I notice that most Christians don't. Many Christians don't engage in any real form of charity at all. Or they outsource it. They give their tithes to the church, and then the church, gives some hard-boiled eggs and some cabbage on Easter to the poor, and they think that they've done their Christ-like duty or something like that. I can respect Christians that are real. I can respect Christians that don't expect to get rich, like televangelists and stuff, or people in the higher-ups in the Catholic Church. Yes, I've not taken the vow of poverty. Christ has appointed me to this prestigious position as cardinal. That's okay if I build a church for wine and, I go around with silk slippers and stuff like that. This is exactly what Jesus meant when he said to feed the widows and the orphans and stuff like that. Ever heard the story of the widow's miter? You should look that one up. But, it's a no-brainer. Obviously, it violates the freedom of religion. We need to see more decisions like this. Freedom of religion was in the First Amendment in the United States Constitution for a reason. There's a reason that went first. Not having the establishment of a state religion, so that there wouldn't be one church that was legally sanctioned and everyone else is sort of second class, and maybe it's a privilege, maybe we tolerate you, it depends on how closely you mark our own ideology. That was the whole point. That's why Congress can't establish a state religion. This was widely agreed upon at the time as a bad idea. They had just left England, and there were some problems with regards to the state establishment there. The Church of England. And think, it'd be better than maybe the Catholics or something like that. Well, Episcopalianism is still a ritualistic church. They're still doing their job. At least there's an effort being made, and people jump down their throats because a bunch of homeless people show up every afternoon in order to get dinner, and I really hate it. I hate seeing all these bedraggled people. It demoralizes me, and it makes my property worth less. That's basically why they were complaining. That's about all. Peace out.